You know that feeling, right? Some tiny, frustrating thing happens, someone cuts you off in traffic, maybe a colleague sends a sharp email, and boom, it just completely hijacks your entire day. Suddenly you're fuming and you're replaying that one little moment over and over again. Well, you are definitely not alone in that. So what is really going on there? Why do we give these tiny moments so much power over us? Why does one little accidental bump in the great river of life feel like this huge personal attack, one that can literally sink our entire mood for the day? Okay, so let's get into it. The answer, and it's a brilliant one, is actually tucked away in a simple story from the ancient philosopher Zhuangzi. It's a parable that kind of acts like a mirror, you know? It shows us exactly how we build our own anger from scratch, and more importantly, how we can just let it go. To really get this, I want you to imagine something with me. Let's step right inside the story itself. So picture this. You're in a boat, gliding across a misty river. Everything's calm, it's peaceful, and then, out of nowhere, thud! Another boat bumps hard right into yours. It's jarring and it totally shatters the peace. You immediately look up, trying to see what just happened, and there you see a person in the other boat, and instantly this whole story just forms in your mind. They weren't paying attention. What an idiot. Your blood starts to boil. You open your mouth to yell at them. But wait, just before you let loose, you look a little closer through the mist. And you realize there's no one there. The boat is completely, totally empty. And just like that, poof, the anger is gone. It just evaporates. Now, the event is exactly the same. A boat hit your boat, but that white-hot fury has completely vanished. Why? Well, because there's no one to blame. It's just an empty boat, drifting along with the current. This simple little twist, that's the whole secret right there. The story shows us that it's never the event itself that causes our suffering. It's the story we tell ourselves about the event. And this is the absolute key distinction. When we see a person, our ego just leaps into action. It creates a villain, it makes the whole thing personal. But when the boat is empty, there's no story to write, no one to blame. It's just a thing that happened. We can check for damage, change our course, and move on, without all that poison of resentment. So why is our default setting to instantly imagine a villain at the helm of that other boat? Well, it turns out there's some really fascinating psychology at play here. You see, our brains are basically wired for shortcuts. To make sense of the world quickly, we automatically assign intent. And often, we assume that intent is negative. Our ego just demands a target, someone to blame, because that protects our sense of being the main character who has just been wronged. And all of this leads us right into a really common mental trap. It's called the spotlight effect. It's this feeling we all get that we're the center of everyone else's story. So when something goes wrong, our first thought is that it must have been directed at us. But the reality is, most people are just trying to navigate their own river. They're caught up in their own currents, their own problems. Their boat bumping into yours, it almost certainly has nothing to do with you at all. So here's the most important part. We can actually use this wisdom to set ourselves free. And there are two really powerful ways to think about it. So level 1 is all about compassion. It's about seeing everyone else's boat as empty. It's about realizing that they're being moved by currents you can't see, stress, tiredness, their own private battles. But then there's a second, much deeper level, emptying your own boat. This is about letting go of the ego that needs to get offended in the first place, about becoming so light and unburdened that nothing can really get a rise out of you. Okay, this is all great philosophy, but how do we actually do this in the heat of the moment, when we're seeing red? Let's walk through a simple mental reset, what we can call the Papa reset, inspired directly by this empty boat wisdom. The second you feel that flash of auger, that collision, just pause. Don't say anything, don't do anything. Just breathe. Count to 10. Give that initial storm of adrenaline a second to pass. Now, in your mind's eye, picture that other boat, and then mentally remove the person from it. Just empty it. See it for what it is, an object drifting on its own current. And then just watch it float by, getting smaller and smaller until it disappears. And then, maybe with a little smile at yourself for getting so worked up, you adjust your own course and just flow on with the river. You know, this isn't just a trick for managing anger. It's really a key to a completely different way of moving through the world. It's a way of being that the philosopher Alan Watts talked about beautifully. Watts explained that swimming with the river isn't a passive act, it's an intelligent one. When you stop fighting the current and learn to work with it, you suddenly gain all of its power. You aren't just one person struggling anymore. You have the force of the entire river helping you along. And this perfectly captures the real meaning of being empty. It's not about being a void or letting people walk all over you. No, it means being free from the heavy anchor of your own ego. It means being so fluid and adaptable that life can't really find anything to push against. This wonderful translation from Thomas Merton just says it all, doesn't it? When your own boat is empty, there's nothing for other people to collide with. There's no ego to provoke, there's no target for them to aim at. You can move through the world with this incredible, weightless grace. Seriously, just take a moment and think about that. Imagine going through your days, your work, your relationships, without that constant, grinding need to defend yourself, to blame someone, to always be right. What would that kind of freedom actually feel like? Because in the end, that's the real destination this story is pointing us toward. A state where you flow so harmoniously with life that you don't even leave ripples of conflict behind you. A state of being where, because you don't judge anyone, you feel free from judgment yourself. You just are. Your boat is empty.